A few months ago, I founded a company called Urban Growers Philippines to encourage people to reconnect with nature. I've learned so much in a short span of time, and one of the most important things I learned is that the garden is a lot like life. Here are the 7 life lessons I learned from gardening. The first thing that gardening taught me is to be patient with your own growth. We live in a world of instant gratification where we're so accustomed to get everything we want at the instant click of a button or the flip of a switch. So we have instant noodles, instant coffee, instant deliveries. But if you look away from this man-made culture of immediate gratification and you look at nature, you'll see that everything takes time. Every good thing takes time. For example, the first thing that I ever planted was an eggplant. And when I first planted the eggplant, I was so excited, so I would check it every day. Every single day, I would go outside, I would check, is it growing? Is it growing? But it wasn't growing. I put the seed in the soil. It was a healthy soil. And I waited and I waited. But every single day, there was no growth coming out of the surface. It was nothing. It was nothing. It was just the soil. 14 days later, to be exact, it finally grew. But it was like this. Like, it was less than an inch. It was so small. But I'm so happy. In life, we should treat ourselves more like we treat the eggplant. You know, if you grow a little bit, do you treat yourself like, oh, you're so small, you took so long to grow, I'm gonna get so frustrated and I'm gonna stomp it out? Or if you see a little bit of growth, cheer it on. If you stomp on it, you're gonna kill it and it's not gonna grow. It grows inch by inch, little by little. And it's the same thing with us. Sometimes we tend to be so impatient with ourselves. We tend to be so harsh to ourselves, stomp on ourselves, and we'll be like, why are you so small? I waited so long. Kill it, and we kill every piece of growth. If you grow a little bit, celebrate that little tiny growth, because tomorrow it's gonna be bigger and bigger and bigger too. You can't force a plant to grow in an area it's not meant to be. I've learned that every plant is different. Some plants like the shade, some plants like the sun. If you force a shade plant to grow in the sun, it will burn and eventually die. How many times do we force ourselves in one thing na hindi naman talaga meant to be? Number 3, you need the insects. Pero I used to hate bees kasi I was stung by one when I was younger. But gardening has taught me that bees are the most important thing in the garden. Without the bees, none of my plants will ever bear fruit. Flowers will only become fruits if a bee pollinates them. In the same way, there are some things in life we may not like but are necessary for our growth. When you learn this, you start to appreciate the bees of your life instead of hating or fearing them. Uproot the weeds. Sometimes you'll wake up in the morning and you'll see a few weeds had sprung up in your soil. You need to remove them because they'll steal the nutrients that were meant for your plants. If you wait too long, they'll intertwine with the roots of your plant and it will be impossible to remove them without killing the plant. It's the same thing with life. Uproot the weeds, remove the negative. Don't let these things steal your energy and time. Don't let negative weeds grow in your heart and take space there, especially before they grow too big that it becomes impossible to remove them already. You are not in control of the whole process. When it comes to gardening, you can only do so much. You can do your part, you can plant the seed, water it every day, make sure it gets all the right conditions, but you can't force the seed to grow faster than nature intended it to. You can't force a tree to bear fruit when it's not yet in season. Some plants are fast growing like chilies, some plants take longer like tomatoes. Just because something isn't blooming yet doesn't mean you failed. It just means your time is different from someone else's. Remember, you're not a failure. Probably, you're just a tomato. It's okay to make mistakes. When you're gardening, you're gonna make tons of mistakes and you're gonna end up with lots of dead plants and garbage. But it's okay. You can put all those dead plants and garbage into a compost bin, and all those dead plants are gonna turn into a nutrient-rich compost soil, which you can use to grow a new batch of plants. Nature can literally turn your mistakes into the soil of new growth. How amazing is it that our Creator can do the same thing with us? And number 7 is stop and smell the roses. One of the things that I learned when growing roses is that roses take long to grow, 21 days to be exact. But once they finally bloom, the flowers only last for 2 days, and then they fall off. Can you imagine if you had waited that long to see your roses bloom, only to miss it when it finally comes? Don't let that happen. Stop and smell the roses. Appreciate life, appreciate the little things. Do not miss it. Thank you so much for listening to my 7 life lessons from gardening. I hope that even just one of these lessons resonated with you and you are encouraged to start your own garden and see for yourself the miracle of life. Thank you.